And a block by Ryan. Ryan across midcourt. Here's the long one. At the buzzer! A three-point shot by Trey Wirtz. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Notre Dame 80-77. And a block by Ryan. Ryan across midcourt. Here's the long one. At the buzzer! A three-point shot by Trey Wirtz. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Notre Dame 80-77.
You. To this morning here on a very special Uski and Herbie show. It's 9:30 in the morning. Yes, we're up early at 9:30 in the morning here on a Wednesday, a big basketball and baseball day today. So, first off, we'll talk some baseball here this morning with Coach Matt Tyler, who is the head coach at Towson University. They're playing their first home game in basically almost 2 years because last year with COVID not letting anybody play any home games and all that stuff. So they're playing their first game this afternoon against St. Joe's. So, Coach Matt, thanks for joining us. Talk about today. Beautiful weather this afternoon, especially in the 70s, and it stinks that you can't have anybody in the stands.
Well, Chris, thanks for having me on first. It's a great pleasure to be back. And you're right. I mean, who'd have thunk, a year later we would be back on the field. And so there's part of us, myself, my staff, and my team that just are very, very happy to be out there on the field. But of course, we'd love to have that atmosphere. Our administration and sports medicine department have come up with a somewhat of a seating acceptance level. So we'll have a couple people in the grandstands, we hope, but it won't be like it would be with, people flocking to the hill and the bridge and the grandstands. But maybe soon when we get a few more people vaccinated and everything rolling in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, you guys are coming off you played Georgia Southern last weekend. Tough weekend down there in Georgia, but it was still nice weather for you guys to get down and play some baseball. So what did you guys learn from playing against Georgia Southern?
It's an interesting thing and I'll put us in the northern category this year because of lack of outside time. It wasn't there. We didn't have the ability to get outside and practice outside. So it was a struggle going down to play Western Carolina and then Winthrop and then Georgia Southern. But with each and every game, we're starting to see some positiveness in regard to where we're going in our development. We're playing better defense. Our pitching, by and large, is relatively, spot on. We just need to get the offense rolling. And I think that comes with a little bit of time and everybody understanding their roles more or less, So, we're excited to play. And we played a good Georgia Southern team. That's probably a regional team, at the end of the year. So to have them on the ropes and, really, possibility of taking two from them, that would have been special if we could have gotten any of that. But it is as it is. So we're going to see if we can't get untracked here today and get back in the win column and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I was playing the clip from last year. You guys played Miami. You're on the monitor, but you didn't get a chance to go down there because you had some family situations you had to take care of. So what did you see from that game when you were down? You were watching that game. You guys had a chance to beat them in game one with that home run off the scoreboard. Was that a home run or was that a double? I thought it was a homer. It looked like it
Well,
cleared.
yeah, if you look at it, you'll see that it just hit the yellow line. And I had the benefit of traveling to that particular game or that weekend series as an observer. I was on my leave of absence. I lost my wife to cancer last year in February and needed obviously some time away from baseball to, get my mind right. I couldn't coach myself, much less anybody else. So the administration and Gino DeMari and the University of Miami allowed me to go sit in the dugout in street clothes and watch that game, and it was very emotional, for all of us to be down there and for me not to be a part of it, but be a part of it, And when we had that shot, Bert Camper hit that ball. I mean, he's a freshman, right, at Miami, and it hits the yellow line and misses going out by about that much. And when he hit it, I said, "Oh, it's a tie ball game, boys. We got a shot, So, hey, I'm a hurricane lover, except when I'm playing, And then when we're playing him, I want to win like nobody's business. So to lose 2-1 on that night, Josh Siles threw an unbelievable game. Coach Miller called a great game. Coach Biagini and Paul Furr, they were spot on. Eric Frank, everybody really came to play. And, it didn't get any easier for us down there, but we still played hard. And that's what, as long as our program moves in that direction, I'm in good shape, because the wins in baseball, as well as I do, it's the style of play. And if you give in to the game, you'll never win. But if you continue to battle and grind and just push through a 1-9 start, like I see our guys doing, yesterday was an unbelievable day of practice. Unbelievable. Challenge at every turn that they went to. But they pushed through it. Nobody had a Debbie Downer. Nobody had their chin on their chest. I mean, it was like, okay, adversity. Let's go. And that's the kind of group I want to be around. That's the kind of group I want to coach because I know good things are going to happen to those guys. So,
yeah, I agree with you because like when I played baseball when I was growing up, I wasn't on the greatest teams in the world in travel league or whatever. But it seems like when I got there, I was pushing myself to become better at what I was going to do because I had a father who basically, if I went 0 for 5, I was in the batting cage downstairs after the game. I'm like, Dad, I want to go home and relax after being 0 for 5, striking out 3 times. He goes, no, you're going to find out why you struck out 3 times. We're going to sit here and I know I was crying like, Dad, I want to go there. I go to bed, But that's my dad pushing yourself to become something, to become better, And I think that's what you saw yesterday. They're pushing themselves to try to become better. And today, hopefully you'll see that, this afternoon against St. Joe's.
Absolutely. Take baseball away, right? Just take baseball away and realize from the coaching perspective what we're dealing with. Well, we're dealing with an 18 to 23-year-old that's basically had their life taken away from them, So as much as baseball is a respite, it's still, they'd love to be doing everything, like you just said. I'd like to be somewhere else other than the batting cage. Well, if we don't have specific times and medical openings, we don't get in the batting cage, So it's been a challenge. COVID has had just a topsy-turvy effect on all of these kids, man. And I feel for my kids. I feel for every kid. And I really feel for the high schoolers, and junior college kids that are trying to succeed in any sport, much less baseball.
Right.
So
I agree because it's like, you have all this social distancing and you can't have this guy on the bus. You got to be, away from people for, and then you got to do like 16,000 tests during the week to make sure you don't, have COVID-19. If you have COVID-19, you completely shut down the game for the weekend, and you're done, until whenever you get a, negative test. It's a lot for these kids to go through.
It really is. We have, I don't know if you notice, but there's an app, D1 Baseball, that can show you all of the games and scores. And there have been, I'll go out on a limb here and say there's probably been as many COVID shutdowns this spring as there have been inclement weather shutdowns, so
Wow.
we've been extremely lucky, but it's a testimony to my sports med department and the protocol and then the willingness of the player, coaches, and staff to play within the guidelines that we're given and to live within the guidelines that we're given. And that's, that's been fun and challenging at the same time. Imagine taking 40 people on the road and saying, okay, you get to go from bus to hotel room. We'll get all of our food delivered, and then you can hang out on the grounds, but that's it. We've just now opened it up that you can walk around, but you can't go into any establishments, so it's really somewhat of a prison, but it's done us well. It's kept us on the field, and that's what we're about. We want to play baseball,
Right. Exactly. Oh, well, today let's talk about your starting pitcher, Nick. Juju or Roman Juju. He came from Elon. Just talking. He's 0-2 on the season, but those 0-2 games are against top, notch Division I teams, who play in the Big South and whatever. Today you're getting St. Joe's. What do you think? What do you like to see out of Nick today?
Well, first let's talk about why he's probably 0-2. Nick is a starter for us. He'll be our number 3 or number 4 as we move into our conference season. And our conference season are all 4-game weekends. He was our number 2. He had a little back surgery in December, and he is starting to make a comeback also. So we've worked Nick and Nick Janowitz as a tandem, like a 1-2 punch, because Jano is coming back also from an injury, and he's on a pitch count. So then Nick is rolling in right behind him. No excuses. Obviously, Nick can throw better. He just, you're a starter. You have that starter mentality. You've got everything lined up, and this is how I work, and this is how I roll, and this is what I do. And, we've only had one of those 4-game weekends, and it'll be another weekend before we get to 4, and he'll catch one of those games. He'll pitch one of those 4 games. So he gets the start today. He'll go 4, 5, or 6, depending on his pitch count. And then we'll kind of go from there. We'll have a better picture of what he can do, based off of his performance from today. So I think you're right. He is a kickback from Elon, but you got to think about this. We recruited him first.
Okay.
And got very, very close to signing him. And then he said, no, I'm going to go to Elon. And that didn't really work out for him. So then he came here. So, that's why I in my recruiting process, we've never really shut the door on anybody, because you know as well as I do in this game, it is about relationships, and it should be, right? I mean, I want you to have a great experience as a player if you're playing for me. And maybe other programs are different. So he's found a nice home with us. He contributed a lot last year. I mean, we had 3 starting pitchers go down, and him and a freshman named Tyler Russo really came on strong for us. So we look for Nick to do some great things this spring.
Yeah. Well, Coach Matt, thanks for coming on this morning. Good luck today. Game at 2:00 there at the Shoals Park. Very nice facility. You guys did a great job updating that facility. It looks very nice over the years. I feel like I want to try a baseball bat one day and see if I can hit one out of the yard.
I'll make you a promise. We'll get through COVID, and you can come down any day you want once we're through it, and I'll throw personal batting practice to you, and you can take all the swings you want to, because I enjoy watching people blow out their back, twist their knees, trying to be a kid again. And, that's this game, right? If you don't think I still coach it because it gives me a chance to be a 12-year-old, you're sadly mistaken. It is, all I need is the bubble gum, which I can't chew anymore. That's bad for you, but I would be remiss without saying that, it gives me a chance to stay a kid. It really does. Love to have you, Chris. Come on down anytime.
I will. Hey, real quick before I have to go, my father tells me all his stories, and I feel like some days, like, Dad, just go grab a bat and let's go to the batting, go to the field and, just hit some baseball. But he goes, no, I'm old now. If I swing, I'm going to be like done for a couple of days, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, Dad. It's called medicine. It's called medicine. Just pop up a couple, and you're good to go.
Well, it's funny. I'm 62 now. So my last batting practice home run was hit at Davenport Field at UVA. And I was coaching with Richmond. And I said, that might be time to just let it go, because I always used to take swings on the road to see if I could hit it out of a visitor's stadium. And then if I did, I said, well, this park can't hold me either, so because I love to hit home runs. I mean, that was my MO. And but yeah, man, I can't generate the bat speed, and it's just not the same. It's just not the same. But you come out anytime, we'll throw a bat out. We'll give you some batting gloves because I know you need your hands. So as you blister them up, you'll see what we're talking about. Okay.
All right, cool. Well, enjoy your game today. Good luck today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, big guy. You take care.
All right. Cool.
See you later. Bye-bye.
So, baseball, Chris Van Tyler. So let's bring in Matt Ward. He covers Syracuse. We'll get Justin Williams. So, hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Syracuse today, a good 8-9 matchup there in the ACC tournament against NC State. So, what do they got to do to keep moving on?
If Syracuse hopes to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament first, they have to win the day just to even stay in the conversation. And then you get some split opinions after that. Some people think a win today, maybe they're barely in. They'll be sweating bullets all the way until Selection Sunday. And then other people are telling you a win today is not going to be quite enough. They're going to have to beat Virginia tomorrow. But if they do beat Virginia tomorrow, with those two wins, then I think they would be solidly in. I'm not sure which camp I fall into, actually. I keep looking at everybody else's resumes, and, like Syracuse's resume looks just like Xavier's. Xavier's resume looks just like Louisville's. I don't know how the committee is going to end up separating these teams from each other, the ones that are on consideration right on the bubble.
Right, exactly. Let's talk about last night's games. They were pretty good. That Notre Dame game at the end with the buzzer beater, I think Dave O'Brien kind of lost track of what was going on because he's broadcasting from home, and I think he didn't get the feed until like a couple minutes after the shot went off. Because if you listen to it, he's like, inbound pass, fire, and also you see everybody doing this, and he goes, "Oh, it's a 3-pointer, and the game's over." I'm like, that's why broadcasters need to be at the arena, not at home. Yeah, because you get the video feed, it takes like a 7-second delay.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys, and I have a lot of friends that are broadcasters nationally. A lot of them went to school up here at Syracuse, so I saw them when they were kids. I don't know how those guys have been working this year from home because it's just impossible to be able to keep up with the game, to see everything you need to see as a broadcaster. But going back to the game itself, the game's rather interesting. Syracuse, we've been paying attention to the bubble and all the minutia that goes into it, probably to an extreme. But like when Notre Dame won that game last night, Notre Dame's net ranking moved from 82 to 79. That means the Fighting Irish are just a few spots away from making Syracuse's win over them go from quad 3 to quad 2. Now, I have no idea how big of a difference it's going to make, and probably none, that the Notre Dame win for Syracuse is quad 2 instead of quad 3, because I think the committee can probably tell that a win over a team ranked in the top 75 at number 75 is not that much difference from a win over a team ranked 79th. But even still, this is where we're at in Syracuse. Syracuse fans are all over this, I got to tell you. We in the media are paying attention to Bubble Watch. This is the little things we watch. So now when Notre Dame plays North Carolina today, provided Syracuse beats North Carolina State here at noon and keeps the conversation going. But little things like that, Notre Dame versus North Carolina, if Notre Dame were to somehow pull that upset and get into the top 75 in the net, there are people in central New York who are going to care.
That's true. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah, let's talk about Coach Boeheim. Last week, him in a little spurt with the reporter, talking about something about if they had two people playing more minutes, it would be 22-2 or whatever it is. What is your take on that? To me, it's like sounds petty after a full season of basketball. Like I love when people who don't play the game make up the you should be doing this.
Yeah, I know Jim was a little upset because he thought a reporter, and as reporters generally we try to avoid expressing opinions. We're in there for sometimes you get analysis, and there's a blurring of the lines in journalism in recent years. But I also thought Jim's response was a little bit beneath a man who's in the Hall of Fame and has won 1,000 games and a national title. Why does he care? What a reporter put out in a tweet that a couple guys, if he had played them more early, I mean, is he really letting that bother him? I can't imagine it shouldn't. And I thought it was poor taste to, make part of your argument the person's height or lack thereof. Rolly Massimino and Lou Carnesecca were both pretty good coaches, and neither one of them was going to win you an opening tip. So, and the whole not play the game thing, listen, there are some reporters out there that will, no matter what they cover, I really do value their opinions. If Tim Kirchin or Buster Olney starts talking to me about baseball, I don't care that neither one ever played in the major leagues or minor leagues or even college or anything, but I'm listening because those guys have been around long enough that I respect their opinions. I want to hear their opinions. So sometimes reporters will have opinions, and that's okay. So, it was just a big kerfluffle, really, Chris. And I did have a friend. I've been covering the team for 33 years. I've had my share of run-ins with Jim Boeheim. And I had a friend text me while this whole thing was going on last week, and he's like, I see where Jim Boeheim criticized a reporter's height and lack of being, ever playing the game. He goes, must feel like Monday for you. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of just another day on the beat. Thankfully I wasn't involved in this little dust up, but to me, that's all it was. It was so minor. I think it's partly because, with social media these days, everything goes out on Twitter and things like that. And it kind of, it depends on if it catches fire. Does the right person on Twitter see it and retweet it to their millions of followers, and then it blows up? Believe me, there were a lot of times where, things between Jim and I, thank God it was back in the early 90s or late 90s before we had social media. Because the thing is as a reporter, you don't want to be part of that because reporters don't want to be part of a story. And I talked to the young reporter here in town, who was involved with it. He hated it. Although, he's pretty much stood by his opinion but he also realized, well, maybe there's a better way to express it. But he also just hated to be out there in the public light because as reporters, that's just like that cuts against the grain for us. We don't want to be part of the story. We want to report the story.
Right. Exactly. Well, I was doing something earlier in this year with the Brian Kelly with Brian Kelly against Alabama and Notre Dame, and you listen to all the reporters asking the same stupid question, like, what are you going to do this, when do you do that, and I asked them about the guy from Alabama, the wide receiver who won the Heisman Trophy. And he tore into me. He goes, well, you didn't hear him before? And I was like, no, Coach, I didn't hear him at all. And I guess I got distracted. This is when Zoom gets to you. And then
I know. Believe me, I sympathize.
Yeah. And one of my buddies was watching the video a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was. And he gives me a call and he goes, dude, that was just wrong for what he said to you. I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, that was just wrong that he tore you a new one. And then the guy next to you, the next guy was making fun of you. I said, dude, you gotta have a thick skin. You don't have to worry about what people make. If they don't like what you do, they could turn the knob or log me off. I don't care.
Yeah. I hear you. You do have to have the skin of a crocodile to be in this business, and we get that. You develop it over the years, and good for you for not letting it bother you. But at the same time, again, why does Brian Kelly have to react that way?
Right.
Be a bigger man. Be a big man about it. And understanding Zoom. Listen, I've sympathized with you about asking a question that maybe was asked a little bit earlier. I think I've done that at least twice this year in post-game Zooms with Boeheim. And what people don't understand is in a post-game, I'm actually still writing a game story often while the Zoom is taking place. So if they all of a sudden they call on me and I look up from my screen and they don't know I'm writing because you can have like the two screens going. And I've been in the middle of writing a gamer on deadline. And I'll look up, I'll hear my name get called, I'll unmute myself and I'll ask a question and then begin to realize that, okay, maybe the guy 2 questions ahead of me asked something similar. But I'm like, what do you do? I mean, this is where we are. And we all got to give each other a little bit of a break,
Right, exactly, and I agree with you. To me, it's just like if it was years ago when I first started this, I would have been right on the phone going, "I'm going to get him. I'm going to make sure I make him, Now I'm like 40 years old, going whatever, if it makes him happy and makes him sleep at night, I'm still going to bed at night, and it's fine, not a big deal, And sometimes I listen to it later down the road, going, I should have said something differently, but that's just what being a reporter is. You try to find something that somebody never said anything, and if you miss it, it's just chalk it up as a loss.
I agree, and these days too with the Zooms, unlike a normal press conference, you don't get a follow up, you don't get second and third questions. They won't come back to you. You get one question usually, and even up here in Syracuse with the post game interviews with Jim. And there's reporters on there, but it's not like there's that many. But you don't get a second question. So it's like we go into the post game press conferences, myself and my coworkers, and we'll be texting each other before the press conference, or is the game's coming to an end, or just when it ends, deciding like who's writing about what, and who's going to ask like what question. And if somebody doesn't actually have a question to ask, we might ask a question to help out one of our colleagues. To get a follow-up question in about, whatever player it is that they're writing about. So it's like, it just makes our business a little bit harder now. Because in a normal post-game press conference at the Carrier Dome after the game, my God, I would have asked Jim Boeheim sometimes 3 or 4 questions and about different topics or as a follow-up. But these days we don't get a chance to do that. It's one question. And if you get a good answer, great. Lucky you. But if you get blown off, it's a bad answer or just a one sentence, you're like, well, I just wasted my one question on nothing.
Exactly. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on this morning. We normally don't do a morning show, but with the tournament games going on, I know there's going to be nobody this evening tuning in to this evening. They'll all be watching all the good games on TV, the Big Ten and the ACC. But thanks for coming on, and we'll try to get you on down the road. Maybe see if Syracuse makes it to the tournament. We'll get you on next week.
All right, that sounds good. Enjoy the basketball today.
All right, thanks, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. All right, folks, that's Matt Kirk in the day. So let's bring in this gentleman. Afternoon on 105.7 in Baltimore. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. I hope the internet's working. Hold on, there he is.
Now.
Hi, Chris.
You were freezing. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I have an old house here in Cockeysville, so sometimes the internet goes in and out. So thanks for what do you get for an old building? So thanks for joining us this morning. Just talk about this week. Big game tomorrow. With Maryland taking on Michigan State, they have to beat Michigan State to get any shape or form to be in the NCAA tournament. If they lose to Michigan State, do you still think they're getting in, or they'll be going to Texas for the NIT?
I've thought they were in for a couple of weeks. I don't know. I think some of it has to do with the results of some other leagues, other conference tournaments. If there's some upsets and the teams that have basically won their regular seasons and they lose in their conference tournament, and those guys have to be considered as well. You want as many of those teams. Winthrop, for instance, who was already taking care of business, they won the regular season and they won their conference tournament. That's what you need to have happen. You need to have these conference tournaments going according to form, and I think they're in pretty good shape right now to be in.
Yeah. Let's talk about that Michigan State game a couple of weeks ago. Big Sunday afternoon on CBS, and it looked like at the time that was a big signature win for Maryland.
It was as well as they played. They probably caught Michigan State at the right time. Michigan State had a huge week. I think they'd beaten Illinois and Ohio State that week, and the Terps had a week off. They were incredibly well prepared. They were focused. They had multiple guys play extremely well, and they shared it. They really passed the ball well. They got off to a great start on 11-0, 13-0, something like that. And that's a big part of that game. They have gotten off to great starts of late in the last three games. It was the Michigan State game where they were really able to sustain.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well, let's talk about this year with COVID-19. You guys, you and Johnny Halliday, are you guys at the arena for home games? Or are you guys on the sitting at home and you're friendly confines of your house, or what?
Well, for home games, we are in a suite at midcourt, up above the court, and we have two suites that are sort of side by side. We try and do a certain amount of social distancing. Johnny, the producer, and the stat guy are on one side of the suite, and then me, Walt Williams, and I are in the other half of the suite. It took a little while to get used to the view, to get used to the vantage point, but it is, it's worked out okay. I think it's harder on Johnny because, doing play-by-play, you're pretty far away. And for the away teams, for instance, it's a little harder to, see some of the uniform numbers. It makes it a little problematic for him. The away games, we're actually in the press room at Xfinity, and we've got a couple different feeds, a couple different monitors, and it's a lot like we are just guys yelling at their TV set, just like everybody else. That's what it feels like. So you make do. I heard the writer he had on before. You have to deal with it. That's just, in this day and age, that's just the landscape. That's the environment, and here we are.
Yeah. I tell people I haven't been to a game in a year since I saw you guys at Xfinity Center back in last year, the Iowa game. That was the last game before the COVID or whatever, and I haven't even gone out because my girlfriend has a bad immune system, so I've been sitting at home doing all the Zoom calls and doing all it from here. And and one of my buddies are like, "Hey, you want to go to Indianapolis this weekend?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Why not?" And he goes, "Well, because I got him a pass to help me." I was like, they don't have anything out there, and everything is Zoom. Yeah. So why am I going to waste driving out to Indianapolis just to get a COVID-19 problem? No. I'm staying home. We're going to relax. We're going to watch the games on TV.
We'd kind of mulled over the possibility of going out there ourselves for the broadcast crew, but we've been completely spoiled over the years because we've always been able to travel with the team and stay with the team and have access to the team. In this day and age, we can't do any of that stuff. We're not allowed to travel because we don't test daily like they do. We just so as a result, we would be put somewhere on the outskirts of Indy, and you have to figure it out. I mean, it's much easier for us right now to just do the games from Xfinity, so that's where we're doing them tomorrow.
Yeah, and you don't have to go far. And do they give you lunch there at the arena, or you have to bring your own food?
No,
that's the thing. Yeah.
It's bring your own food, and they're not happy about you bringing anything in. So, it's a 2-hour game. It's a 2-hour game, and then it's our post game runs 20, 25 minutes depending upon what happens in the game. So, you can be out on Route 1 or University easy enough and find yourself a burger. 2.5 hours.
Right. Exactly. Or you could call somebody from Grubhub or or DoorDash is like, hey, can you come down to the Infinity Center? And they'd be like, who? Johnny Holiday want a burger? What?
Well, it's funny. The first time we did a game from the press room, it was an away game, and it was in November. And Walt showed up, and he had been working all day, and he's like, "Damn, I'm hungry," and he went and ordered a pizza, and he ordered it to Xfinity Center, and so the driver, I forget what Domino's or whatever, Papa John's, whatever. He just showed up. He had no idea. Walden ended up running outside during it was probably right about halftime and tracking this guy down on the far side of Xfinity. He didn't know. I think Walt had thought he'd said, bring it to the loading dock. That message did not get imparted. But yeah, we have done that before, Chris. That's actually something we've tried to pull off.
That's awesome. Well, real quick, I know you're a busy guy because I know you got to get prepped, ready to go for tomorrow morning's game. And this time, you guys are getting ready to be on the air. What are the 3 keys for Maryland to win tomorrow and move on and take on Michigan? So they got the going to do the state of Michigan in Indiana.
I think that anytime you play Michigan State, you have to put on your big boy pants. They're just so tough, so aggressive. So you have to rebound the ball well. Michigan State has traditionally just been really relentless on the offensive boards. So you're going to have to rebound the ball well. I think the other thing is that Michigan State, when they have played well this year, they've played fast. So you've got to be in a position where you can negate the easy points they get on the fast break because they do have some athletes. The point guard is named Rocket for a reason, and they can really get out and make things difficult for you. I think the last thing is for Maryland. It sounds pretty simple, but it's multiple guys playing well. You can't have Aaron Wiggins score 26 and everybody else score 5. That's not good enough. You need 2, 3, 4 guys playing at a high level. We had finally the other night in their loss to Penn State, we finally started to see Dante Scott back in a rhythm and making shots. Unfortunately, he was in foul trouble most of the night and didn't get a chance to really participate in the game. When he did, he was really good. But so you need multiple guys playing well offensively for the Terps for sure.
Exactly. Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you so much for taking some time this morning for us, and enjoy doing the home game, the away games in the Infinity Center, and maybe an NCAA tournament. You might be able to go somewhere.
Oops. I hope so. Hey, but belated happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Last weekend I was 40 years old, and I'm thinking, my mom said to me, like, wow, you're going to go downhill afterwards. I'm like, thanks, Mom. I appreciate that.
Nah, you're in good shape. Congratulations.
Thank you. And good luck today, and good luck with the broadcast tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Chris.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right. That's the voice of the Maryland Terrapins, the color analyst for Maryland Terrapin basketball. Let me bring in, we were supposed to get this guy on at 9:45, but we had a little change in schedules. So let me get him on real quick here. So let's get him on the program here. So, folks, thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Chris Heidel here on Uski and Herbie all by myself. We'll be back tonight at 7:30 to do a special show. Get Justin here on the phone here.
Hello.
Hey, Justin, how you doing? It's Chris Heidel from Herbie Radio. How's everything going? And where are you right now in vicinity to Greensboro?
How's it going, Chris? Thanks for having me on. I'm about halfway on my commute from Raleigh on I-40 westbound to Greensboro Coliseum. But smooth sailing so far. You never know if there's ever going to be a wreck that holds you up. But so far, so good.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about this morning at 12 noon. You're going to see Syracuse and NC State. We had Matt Waters on before you. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, I forgot he emailed me. I got so many people emailing me every day. It's like, wow, I got to catch up on people here. But just talk about this game coming on. NC State, needs his win to keep everything going with the NCAA tournament because they're are they literally on the bubble?
Well, both of these teams are. I mean, I think it's a loser goes home type game, and the winner of this game isn't necessarily. I think you can make the argument that NC State has more work to do than Syracuse, certainly. Syracuse might have a chance if they win today and lose tomorrow, but NC State, any type of equation that involves them getting an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, that involves a win today and probably a win at least tomorrow, if not more. So, NC State's finished the regular season on a 5-game winning streak. They had that home contest against Virginia Tech to end their regular season canceled due to COVID protocols within the Virginia Tech program. But they're as hot as any team in the ACC, and so is Syracuse, coming off of 2 wins over Clemson and North Carolina regular season.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for these teams. Like you just said, they haven't. You guys had a chance to play Virginia Tech last weekend, and that got canceled because of but now it's like you got tournament games, and it's like, all right, you haven't played in 4 weeks. Now go play in a tournament game.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen most teams in the country struggle coming off of COVID breaks. I mean, maybe the only outliers being Florida State and Gonzaga. Florida State, they returned from about a 2 or 3 week COVID pause in January and beat NC State by 32 points on their home floor. But that's the anomaly this season, right? Everyone seems to struggle after coming back. I know Virginia Tech's going to be playing their 3rd game in 30 days tonight against I forget who they're playing, but I think they've got the 7 o'clock game or the 9 o'clock game. Either way, they play tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be interesting for these teams coming off the COVID pauses.
Yeah, they're supposed to be playing the winner of tonight's North Carolina and Notre Dame game. I feel like Notre Dame has the edge tonight because of the buzzer beater. Anytime you get a buzzer beater in March, it helps you win the next game.
Yeah, I was actually there in Greensboro Coliseum last night to witness that, and I mean, Notre Dame stole that game. Wake Forest was clearly the better team for 35 minutes, and I mean, fitting way to end the Demon Deacons season. It's just not being able to get it done down the stretch. They're a young team. The cards were stacked against Steve Forbes' squad going into this season. They've shown a lot of fight, but that Trey Wirtz buzzer beater, I mean, that's what makes March great, right?
Yeah. So how eerie is it to do a game in Greensboro with nobody around? I was watching the first game yesterday between Miami and Pittsburgh on TV here, and I'm like, there is nobody there. It's like, how eerie is that?
That was the exception. So by the time the Duke game started, there's actually a 15% capacity allowance in the state of North Carolina for large indoor venues, and compared to what we've seen all season, it's actually the most lively environment we've had in the college basketball season because there's 15% fans. I mean, leading up to the tournament, Duke didn't have any fans or parents in the stands at Cameron Indoor Stadium this year. Carolina and NC State had, parents and maybe some close friends of the players, but less than 500 people for sure. And those last home games of the regular season, they are actually allowed to get sent in. But the Duke contingent showed out strong in Greensboro for their 10-15 game against Boston College, and so did the Wake Forest home crowd. So that was really an advantage to Wake last night. But, good for Mike Bray and that Fighting Irish squad for getting it done. And what is it, 16-point comeback?
Yep. I think that's the most. I think that's like the last. I think they haven't had that done in so many years. I think they haven't had that in a postseason in a very long time. I think you have to go back to, back in 20-something when they were in Pittsburgh for the regionals, and I think they had to play one team. And I got to do the research, but I think that's like a long time ago.
It's a night and day difference from the team I saw play NC State up in South Bend. I guess a week ago. I mean, that was just a week ago, and then that team goes on and beats Florida State, and then gets it done in a comeback fashion against Wake Forest. So that Carolina Notre Dame game should be interesting tonight, particularly the way the Fighting Irish can shoot the three.
Yeah. Is there going to be a lot of NC State fans this afternoon? Because Syracuse is basically, nobody's going to be driving almost 9 hours from upstate New York to come down to Greensboro. I know that for a fact.
I would expect mostly NC State fans. I mean, you look at the 2:30 game because as you know, the ACC tournament tickets are kind of divided up in sessions, and that afternoon session, NC State's really the only local team. I mean, Clemson fans could make the drive from South Carolina. It's a little bit further, but maybe not for the Clemson-Miami game. But I would expect mostly red in the stadium today, which should be advantage Wolfpack.
That's true. Well, real quick, last question to ask you. 3 keys for NC State to move on and play the winner of, I think they got Florida State next, right?
The winner of this game will play Virginia, who's the 1 seed.
Okay.
So, but either way, you get a quad 1 opportunity for either team if they can advance today. I mean, I would say the keys for NC State, it starts with the play of Jarrett Cole-Helms, who's kind of that stretch 4, although he's been playing a little bit more small forward late in the season as NC State has shifted towards a bigger lineup. But he's kind of the key to cracking that Syracuse zone. He stays at the top of the key, the high post, the free throw line, if you will. And then he's, a facilitator from there. The Wolfpack has to prevent turnovers. That was the problem in round 2 in Raleigh when Syracuse won by 9 points in PNC Arena. NC State committed 20 turnovers that game. That was a season high for the Wolfpack. Obviously, they need to get that fixed. A lot of that was Syracuse trapping baseline. Manny Bates, I think Funderburk had a few more. So Bates has been a better passer towards the end of this regular season, so that should be advantage Wolfpack. And also stop Buddy Boeheim. Buddy Boeheim has gone 7 of 12 from 3 in the 2 regular season contests between these 2 teams. He's shooting about 35% from 3 on the season. I know he had a little bit of been able to shoot lights out against this NC State team, and they do a better job of defending the perimeter.
Well, Justin, thank you so much. Travels to Rob there. Safe travels and enjoy the games today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. All right, folks. It's Justin Williams. He writes for the Wolfpack magazine. So, folks, thanks for joining us. I'm Chris. We're doing the 2 shows today. I'll be on with our good friend, from our friend from Shakedown Thunder, recapping these games, and let's bring in Stephen Jones for the Penn State basketball team. They're going to be playing later today, and I know Steve is probably going to be at home watching it from his friendly confines of his house, because I think a lot of people are not traveling to Indianapolis broadcasters. So, Steve, thanks for joining us. How difficult is it to broadcast an away game?
Oh, you make do. I mean, you make do. It's not the way it should be done, but you make do with it. And you make the best of it.
Yeah.
You just follow the ball, you follow what you see, and then you go from there. But, it should be an interesting game tonight, because the 2 times that they have played this year, the 2 games have been decided by a total of 4 points.
Yeah. I talked to Chris Nockey before we had you on, right now from Maryland. I asked him, do you guys, when you do a away game, do you guys order food? And he goes, yeah, Walt Williams actually ordered a pizza a couple weeks ago, and he had to run out and get the pizza because the guy couldn't find where he was at the Infinity Center.
Right.
Have you ever done that during this year?
No, have not. I just have water. Haven't done that. Somebody brought in snacks, and it was like, no, I didn't want any snacks. So, no, I just treat it like it's a game, and we're in the booth. And if I'm doing the game in the booth, I'm not ordering pizza or doing anything like that. Although I think at the Xfinity Center, Johnny Holiday told me that they're down in the media room when they do it, and you know what the media room there is like. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. It is very nice. It's very nice down there. Well, let's talk about this game tonight. It's going to be a tip-off around 9 o'clock after the 6:30 game. They played, like you said, they played Nebraska twice already. Is it hard to beat somebody 3 times in the season, or is it like the series 1-1?
The series is 1-1. So, but I always have a theory about it, because remember, was it 3 years ago? Penn State beat Ohio State 3 times, and somebody said, "Boy, that's hard to do." And I said, "Well, not if you're better." It's, I mean, so if you beat a team 3 times in a year, you're actually the better team. But Penn State, Nebraska, the first game was just a grind out. You can see Teddy Allen, who's not going to play in the game tonight, hitting a shot there. That's Lat Mayan. He's going to kick it back out. There's another 3. They were able to get some of those in that first game at Penn State. Second time through, Allen at 41, but Myron Jones had a career high 29. And so Penn State was able to win the second one, 86-83. So 2 distinctly different styles of games. This game was a grind out 61-60 or 62-61. Then the second one's nice pass by Banton there. But the other one was 86-83, was a wild, fun free-for-all. So I don't know what style we're going to see tonight.
Yeah. Let's just talk about this time last year. You and we had you on our show, the radio side, and we were going to make a trip out to Indianapolis, and you guys were supposed to play, I think, Maryland in the first round, and all of a sudden, everything was complete. Yeah. Yeah. So, Indiana. Excuse me. We'll talk about this time last year. You guys are getting ready, and all of a sudden, everything's gone. And then you got to go back home. Yeah.
Yeah. Had done a game in Chicago at Northwestern. Didn't think twice about it. Flew to Indianapolis. Didn't think twice about it. And then we're out at dinner at St. Elmo's, the world famous steakhouse in Indianapolis, which is, by the way, run by a Penn Stater, I should point out. Craig does an awesome job. And as we're eating, the phone goes off. And it was about Rudy Gobert testing positive. I looked at everybody at the table and said, uh-oh, we have a problem here. And then 2 minutes later, the NBA shut down. And I said, we got a real problem here. And so the game between Minnesota and Northwestern went off without a hitch. Indiana played Nebraska, went off without a hitch. I actually went over to the arena and picked up my pass for the next day. And Fred Hoiberg got sick during the game. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Well, the next day, Penn State had breakfast, and Mike Watkins was upset because of Hoiberg getting sick. He said, we got to sit on that bench. And I found out that Hoiberg had influenza B. And I said, Mike, he's out of the hospital. He had the flu, influenza B. He goes, oh, okay. So Mike suddenly felt better. They went over in that shoot around, and they already determined there'd be no fans. And because there were fans there the night before. And we went over to shoot around, and Penn State had a great shoot around. I mean, fabulous. A lot of juice, a lot of energy. I mean, really. And the Michigan radio guys were set up. The Rutgers guys were there, had their setup, but they weren't physically sitting there. And the Iowa guys were bringing their stuff in for the 2:30 game. So I leave, go back to the hotel, and I was on Sirius XM that morning, and they asked me what were the odds of playing the tournament. And I said, or the odds of playing the game. And I said, Rutgers and Michigan not only have to play that to finish the game. I said, if they finish the game, then I think they're going to play all the way through. So Dick Girardi and I, my broadcast partner, went to P.F. Chang's for lunch because Penn State wasn't playing until the night game. They weren't playing until the 6:30 game. And we're sitting there, and he was in touch with Dana O'Neill from The Athletic. And they were texting back and forth, and she's texting how eerie it was to see the two teams warming up, and nobody's in the building. I mean, how eerie it was. And then all of a sudden, I got a direct message from the Big Ten saying the tournament was canceled. I looked over at Dick and said, they just canceled the tournament. So he texted Dana. He says, they're canceling the tournament. She texted back 60 seconds later saying they just took the two teams off the floor. They got a plane, and we flew back at 3:30 in the afternoon. And you know when you're coming into land that phones then go back on, usually, about maybe 5 minutes before you land, they all blow up. Everybody's like bing, 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 bing. And that's when they canceled the NCAA tournament. There were a lot of tears on the plane, because this is what they had worked for all year. And suddenly they had nothing.
Jeez. Yeah, I remember that morning. I went to bed Wednesday night right after I talked to you guys. I went to bed, and my brother called me, and he goes, the guy from Utah just tested positive. I'm like, for the basketball, the NBA, and the NBA shut down. I'm like, what? So I made a decision that night. I'm like, I'm not going to Indianapolis. I know I got a rental car, I got the place, and I got the passes for the game to cover the weekend. I'm staying home. I'm not going to affect anybody. I have a girlfriend who has a bad immune system. I don't want to get everybody. So at 4 in the morning, I called my friend. I'm like, I am not coming to pick you up. And he goes, why not? Because they just tested positive in Utah. This thing's going to spread like wildfire. Let's just stay home and enjoy ourselves. We have the weekend off. Just enjoy watching what comes on TV. And then, like 4 hours later, I get the message on my phone: Big Ten canceled.
Yep.
So I was like, smart on my part for not traveling all the way out to halfway to Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. Very smart on your part, very perceptive. But like I said in the morning, I said Rutgers and Michigan not only had to start, they had to finish. Right? If they finished, because if you recall, Creighton was playing at Madison Square Garden. They got to halftime, they didn't finish.
Right. And then all of a sudden there was no sports for 6 months. And we're sitting here trying to figure out, what the world is going to be like this year. And like we got through football, the Big Ten decided, like you do Big Ten football, they decided to play later in the year, and they had some ups and downs. The ACC, we covered the ACC. They had 85% of the games played.
Yeah.
So we got, I think we got this thing covered.
I think it's miraculous that we get to this weekend, and Penn State's about to play its 24th game tonight, and Nebraska's about to play its 27th, I think, something like that. So wow. I think it's miraculous we got there. Credit to everybody.
What is the key? Yeah, exactly. So what are the keys for Penn State to win tonight to move on? Because you got an interim coach who's been there for the whole year. Is he going to be keeping the job, or is he going to are they going to start looking for somebody else?
We have to. That's in a wait and see situation. I can just speak to what is the moment. And in the moment, he's done a really, really terrific job with this team this year. They've been resilient. They've been in every game but two all season long. They won 3 of their last 4. People forget that they started out the conference, which included a 3-week pause in the middle of it, by going 0-5. So they went 7-7. They went 7-7 in the last 14, and that tells you about the level of play that they've had. They need to get to the lead tonight. I think playing with the lead in a tournament game is really important. Look at Oral Roberts last night. Thank goodness they had a big lead because North Dakota State got back within 3. They were up by 25 at one point. But I think you need to play with a lead when you're in a conference tournament. I think there's another part of this that's really different. What's the depth perception like? They've got courts at each end of Lucas Oil Stadium. It's a dome. Well, okay, wow. So nobody's ever played in Lucas Oil Stadium setup. Nobody has. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody shoots the ball.
It's going to be very interesting to see tonight on the Big Ten network and see what it looks like. Where you got, like you said, there's courts everywhere. It will look like a country club for the weekend.
Yeah. Well, because they had to play they had to play the opening 2 rounds there, so that's why they have courts on each end. One has the NCAA logo on it. The other one has the Big Ten logo on it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Steve, thanks so much for coming on tonight. This morning, normally we don't do a morning show, but with all the games this afternoon, I think nobody's going to tune in later this afternoon because everybody will be watching all these games. So, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the broadcast from your friendly confines. And hey, the good thing is you don't have to travel.
That's right. Hey, always a pleasure. I appreciate it very much. I enjoy it.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. That is the voice. We're waiting for the internet. All right, folks. Thanks for joining. Yeah. This helps. Let's do something here. Let me just bring this thing up. Yeah, we got Brian back here. Let's bring in Brian Calloway, who covers the Lady Spartans from East Lansing State Journal. So, Brian, can you hear us? And thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Thanks for coming on this morning. We have an old house, so sometimes the internet likes to, you know Verizon. Yeah.
Oh, I know how it goes.
Exactly. But let's talk about this game. Now, the women's tournament is in the same city as the men's tournament, so we're going to have some people going to try to figure out who's playing where, because the ladies are where the Pacers play, and then the men are playing at Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play. Or around here in Baltimore, we don't call them the Colts because they left town. So it's
Exactly.
the horseshoe. Yeah, I'm from New York, so I really, I call them the Colts. But anyway, so just talk about this game for the Lady Michigan Lady Spartans. They play the Penn State women's team this evening, right?
Yeah. They played Penn State this evening, and these teams met once during the regular season, and Michigan State was able to go on the road and get a win in that game, and it was a pretty big win for them. One of the big things that came out of that win was Eliza Winston, who was their second leading scorer. She really started to come back to life. She got off to a really good start this year. Had like 5 or 6 double-digit games in their first 7 or 8 games, and didn't really, gone quiet offensively. And she's someone that Michigan State needs to play well if they want to have some success in the postseason. And since that game, I think she's had 4 double-digit scoring games over the last 5 of the season. So she's kind of an important piece to what Michigan State wants to do. And also very important just to be a complementary piece to Nia Clouden, who is the Michigan State star. So it's just a game that Michigan State would like to win, just to kind of string some performances together and try to get some momentum as they hopeful of hearing their name called for the NCAA tournament next week, which they should. They seem to be in a good position for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the women's tournament. They're going to be in a bubble in Texas. That's not bad. Warmer climate for a bubble, instead of being in Indianapolis, and this time it's not that warm. But, playing in a bubble, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is going to be pretty good for them. But I know that from talking to Michigan State coach, she was asked, Susie Merchant, she was asked about it last week. And obviously Texas, they, restricted the mask, mandate, that has kind of been lifted. And, she was saying it was going to be kind of interesting just to kind of see how everything was down there, just based on some of the legislation that has been passed by the leaders down there and how Michigan State was going to handle it. In Texas, I know they got a big old pamphlet from the NCAA last week, just kind of maybe getting a little lay of the land. So they're going to try to feel things out that way and kind of see, what things are going to be like and kind of what the rules and regulations are for, what's going to go take place, in that bubble down there. But, I think it's going to be interesting just for the women's tournament, just to kind of have, all of those things in a centralized place, just to kind of see how that plays out. The women's tournament's always been interesting just because, usually, the top 16 overall seeds, they get a chance to host as, the first couple of rounds of the tournament, which has kind of been a good thing for the women's game, especially, getting some attendance and, into some of those venues. But now with everything in the neutral site, it's going to be interesting to kind of see, how that plays out, just like it is with the men's as well, too, in Indianapolis.
All right, we're frozen again. Lord. All right, Brian, I'm on the phone here. I'm on the internet. Decided to go down. So,
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, just talk about that. You talked to the coach at the Lady Spartans, and they were asked the same question. It's just repeat what you just said, because I think we got it broken up.
Yeah, Michigan State women's basketball coach Susie Merchant, she was kind of asked about, maybe the prospects of, obviously going down to Texas for the NCAA tournament. And, she said it's going to be an interesting thing for her program and all of the programs, just because of what's kind of gone on with Texas recently, and them not requiring masks anymore, and just what it's going to be like to navigate that. And like you said, I mean, they're obviously going to be a part of the bubble down there, and what does that entail? And that's something that they were kind of looking into last week, as they got some information sent to them from the NCAA, about exactly what was that. And their director of basketball operations was kind of in the process of starting to go through that kind of stuff, in the event that they'll be playing down in Texas next week.
Yeah. What do you think about Texas getting up the no mask anymore? I know the NCAA tournament's telling people you have to wear your mask. I think that's a smart thing to do, but this whole state of Texas, like, everything's back to 100%.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit too early just to be kind of doing that. Like the NCAA said, I think it was a smart thing. Obviously that you want people to put their mask on. I mean, the NCAA is trying to complete a tournament here. They're trying to get this done from start to finish, and that's why they have it in this bubble format. They want it to be as safe as possible. So I think keeping these teams in the bubble, people wearing their masks, double masking, is what Susie Merchant said that she does. I mean, that's going to be the most important thing. Just keeping everyone safe and healthy. And so I think it's wise of the NCAA to say that hey, we want everyone to wear their mask. And I just think Texas has jumped the gun a little bit, because we're not clearly out of the woods. Obviously, we're trending in the right direction here, and obviously it's a tremendous opportunity for Texas, being able to host this as well too. So you just want to have this done as safely as possible, with so many teams that are going to be entering that region next week.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're here in Maryland. The Lady Terps, they've been on fire. They've been scoring like 110 points, and it looked like looks like Rain DeFries has them all connected and going. Do you feel like that's the team to be out there, the team to beat out there in Indianapolis?
Definitely. I got a chance to see Maryland both times that Michigan State played them, and just an impressive team, and just got so much talent. And now Angel Reese wasn't even playing then, and obviously now she's back in the lineup for them, and that's just another big piece for that Maryland team. And just Ashley Owusu, they've got it going there, and Brenda has done just a great job with that program. It's just an entertaining brand of basketball as well too. Just got to see them putting up all the points that they've been able to put up this season, and they've just been a great team to watch around the Big Ten. And obviously ever since they've entered the Big Ten, I mean, they've just kind of been that program that everyone's kind of gunning to beat it, just because Brenda has it like a well-oiled machine rolling there.
Yeah. So what is your 3 keys for the Lady Spartans to pull out this win against Penn State and then move on?
Yeah, I think the biggest key is, Nia Clouden and Eliza Winston coming to play. Both of those, they're the 2 big scorers for Michigan State. And Nia Clouden she's actually a Maryland native, but she's actually been a little bit quiet the last 3 games offensively for Michigan State. I mean, the last 3 games have been the only 3 times that she's been held in single digits this season, and it's been a pretty bright season for her, where she's pretty much carried the team as the Bratman, as Coach Susie Merchant likes to say. So her and Eliza Winston, bringing it on offense, I think is going to be one of the biggest keys for them. The other thing I think for Michigan State, and it's happened to them at times, is they go through these droughts in games where they get off to a nice start, and then they just hit this lull, and it's happened a number of times where, and most recently against Rutgers, where they got off to a really good start. They had a 7-point lead over Rutgers going into the final quarter. Then they just go cold offensively, and they're just not able to stop the tide and turn away the other team's momentum. So being able to avoid those lulls in games, I think, is one of the biggest things for them. And just being consistent from start to finish. I mean, that's one of the things that Coach Susie Merchant said she's wanted to see from this group, is some consistency. But they're a little bit of a younger team with a lot of sophomores that are in the rotation and kind of playing their meaningful minutes for the first time for a complete season. And, consistency is one of those things that they've struggled with at times. So being able to be consistent from start to finish, I think, is going to be one of the biggest things that Michigan State's going to need to do, not only today, but also just kind of throughout the postseason if they want to find success.
Exactly. Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're not making the trip to Indianapolis, but you'll be doing everything from Zoom like everybody else is doing. I think that's I think the only best thing out of COVID-19 is we can stay home and cover tournaments, and we don't have to go. The only thing we have to go is to the kitchen and back. That's all we have to do.
Yeah, it just does make it pretty convenient, in that regard, and just being able to, still tell those stories without being there. So Zoom has been a great thing out of the pandemic for sure.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you maybe in a couple of weeks when the women's tournament start up, in the NCAA tournament, and we'll see where the Lady Spartans end up.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks. That's Brian Cataway, who writes for the Lansing State Journal. We're going to try to get back on the normal program here because we got Don Munson, our good friend from Clemson, coming on the video. So hold on a second, folks. We'll get you back on the back here on the program. So hold on a second.
All right, folks, welcome back. Sorry for the we're having some we had some video issues and all that stuff. Let's before we get Don Munson on the program here, let's get you guys caught up with the NCAA with the ACC tournament. Some highlights from yesterday. First game was Pitt taking on Miami. And Miami right there, courtesy of the ACC network. Miami, cruised to a win over Pitt, by a score of 79-73. And then this afternoon, Miami's taking on Clemson at 2:30 on the ACC network. So that's the highlight from last night. The first game yesterday afternoon. Pitt has been having so much issues with injuries and people transferring out of the program. I think they need to stop that transfer portal stuff, during the season. I think that's a different story for a different day. So that's the score there from last night. So let's move on with that. And then Duke yesterday was playing on a first day in the ACC tournament since like 1995, when Coach K was out because of the injury to his Achilles or something. So last night Duke actually moved on. They played Louisville this evening. They just cruised to a big win. See right there. That's Boston College's only highlight of the day because Duke was all over the place. Last night, running down the floor. Boston College fired Jim Christensen a couple of weeks ago, so that's a big win for Duke. 86-51 over Boston College. You can see they're running it out, and Coach K is very happy. Must have been a happy man today. This evening at 6:30, he'll be playing against Louisville on the ACC network. So that's hopefully you folks could tune into that. And then the call of the night. Let's go to this Notre Dame game. This is the voice of Dave O'Brien, who does the Red Sox games, or sometimes occasionally he does football games for ESPN, but normally he does Red Sox baseball. This is last night making the call after the winning shot by Notre Dame. So here it is.
Momentum blocked by Ryan. Ryan across midcourt. Here's the long one. At the buzzer! A three-point shot by Trey Wirtz. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Notre Dame 80-77.
So that's a big win for the Irish and Mike Bray, beating Wake Forest last night 80-77. So we're going to take a little break here for a minute. We're going to get Don Munson on. He's on the highway driving to Greensboro. He'll be on the call this afternoon on the Clemson Radio Network. Yeah, getting ready for the Clemson-Miami game. We'll talk to him in a minute here. Let's see. We'll pull it up here. Let me get his email. So hold on a sec, folks. We'll be right back.
This is Don.
Hi, Don. It's Chris Idell. Good morning. How you doing? How's the ride down to? How's the ride?
I'm fine. So far, so good.
That's good. Well, let's talk about your today. Your 2:30 against Miami. Miami had a great game against Pitt yesterday. So you guys just played Miami, right?
We did. We won at home against Miami. Obviously, earlier in the season, I think it was actually the 2nd of January, won by a point at Miami. So I've been able to win 2 games over this group. But first time that Miami's won back-to-back games since December with their win yesterday, 79-73 over Pitt. So all of a sudden now you feel like you're playing a pretty hot ball club.
Yeah. Just talk about you guys coming in your this day 2, second round at 2:30. What does Clemson got to do to move on? To be part of the weekend.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, Chris, that the MO of this team is defense. They've just been shutting people down is what they've been able to do, put the clamps on people at time. Clemson's not what you would call a juggernaut by any stretch imaginable offensively. So I think going into this game, they would prefer to see a game, high 50s, low 60s, to be honest with you, whereas Miami is trying to push a game into the 70s or 80s if they can. Clemson this year, it's kind of interesting I say that because Clemson this year is 6-0 when they score 70 or more points, and are now, but are 3-4 when an opponent scores 70 or more points. So they've only scored 80 points one time the entire year as Clemson. That was in a win over Purdue way back in November. So the MO for this Clemson team is come out and play really good defense against Miami, make them work deep into the shot clock, and then also obviously rebounding. I think has to play a big part here today.
Yeah, well, both teams have orange in their colors. Is going to be all orange today? If anybody has a color situation, they're going to be like who's who, or who's going to be in white, who's going to be in what? Because I knew Miami was using the orange jerseys yesterday.
Yeah, and Clemson will be the home team in this, so I would expect them to come out in the home whites, which you may see those orange again for Miami come back out. Coaches sometimes are a little superstitious that way, so if they wanted them yesterday, wouldn't be surprised they come back out in them today.
Yeah. Let's just talk about going to this arena. It was basically 15. The state of North Carolina is only letting 15% of small big venues to have fans in the stands, so it's going to be very quiet there during a basketball game. I guess you're used to doing that this year with all the football games you've been going to and basketball.
Well, I guess they put out 3,100 tournament books that were available to the general public, but there will also be, other sponsors. I'm expecting we'll see a crowd of, if it was packed, if it was totally full, you would expect to have 4,500, maybe as many as 5,000 in the building. But Clemson, all of us are now used to playing in front of big arenas that just aren't full. Clemson this season was 20% at home, so we had 1,876 people that could show up to a Clemson home basketball game. And we sold out the last 10 or 12 games of the season at home. So they were used to playing in front of some folks. But in the state of North Carolina now, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Wake Forest, the NC States, until just the very end of the regular season, they didn't have anybody in the arenas. So those teams are used to playing in front of empty spots. But it'll be interesting to see just kind of what atmosphere is generated. You got to depend upon your own bench in these things to kind of generate your own atmosphere in a tournament game like this.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be a busy man, I guess, with the tournament game today, and you guys do it tomorrow. But Clemson's having their football pro day tomorrow. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I won't be at pro day tomorrow. It'll be the first time in a long time that I haven't been at pro day since. I guess I would be there tomorrow if we lose today. I would be there, but not planning on being there. I'll put it that way. But no, I think the guys that have an opportunity to go and show off their skills in front of all the scouts, it's going to be nationally televised on the ACC network. So I think there's that. Plus, that's just that will turn into a 2-hour infomercial really for Clemson football. Which, if you're a head coach at this point in time where you haven't been able to go out and do any kind of recruiting, you got to figure that maybe some eyes will be on that of recruits that you are bringing in. Trevor Lawrence obviously had his own pro day, and that was nationally televised as well. But I think the guys that are coming in this, obviously Travis Etienne will be the headliner, but Cornell Powell, the Amari Rogers, and all the other guys, have an opportunity to put their best foot forward and put up some numbers and show that they indeed can play this game at the next level. And I expect them to do absolutely that. Yeah.
Just talk about, for this coming season, you feel like you guys have the best recruiting class this year. I think it's the mentality there in Clemson is the next man up, right?
Oh, no doubt about it. It is the next man up. And, the thing that people forget about last year's team was just how young we were. We played a ton of true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, true sophomores, redshirt sophomores. Defensively, I think we've got 16 guys coming back on that side of the ball that have started games for us. Obviously, you've got some 6-year seniors that are also back, particularly on that side of the football. And DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback, I realize what has just left. I realize what Trevor Lawrence was for us the last 3 years, but I don't think we're taking a tick down. I really don't. From what I've seen so far of DJ so far in spring practices, what we saw last year from him when he had the opportunity to step on the field and do his thing, I'm expecting DJ to just keep on keeping on at that quarterback position for us, and because of that, it'll be interesting to see what Clemson does offensively. They have to. There's not a replacement for Travis Etienne. There's not. Mm-hmm. So where do you go? It's going to have to be a couple of guys that are going to have to fill that void. And so that will be actually the biggest question mark, I think, going into this football season is what's going to happen at running back for Clemson.
Exactly. Well, Don, thank you so much for taking some time this morning. I know you're driving. Be safe driving, and you'll be behind the mic this afternoon for the folks in Clemson, South Carolina, for the game between Clemson and Miami. And enjoy your day in Greensboro.
Well, do appreciate you having me on. Always good to spread a little gospel of the Clemson Tigers. Go Tigers.
All right, Don. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, see you. Bye.
See you, brother.
That's Don Munson, who is the voice of the Clemson basketball and football, joining us here by the telephone. So, we had the old ESPN photograph up there. So, folks, it's 10:55. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's been rapid fire here this morning here on the program. I'm Chris Heidel. We'll be back tonight at 7:30 recapping the first 2 games of the ACC men's tournament, plus some Big Ten tournament we'll be starting our preview as well. Let's just look at the. Let me take the schedule down here. There we go. All right, folks. Coming up at 11 o'clock this morning, Shelby Mast, who is the official bracketologist, who we had this guy on this time last year, before COVID-19 kicked in. So we'll talk to him about bracketology. We'll talk about who's with that Duke win last night. Do you feel like Duke is in the tournament, or they need to beat Louisville this afternoon to get back into the NCAA tournament? 11:15, we'll talk to Justin Antewell, who is the voice of the Penn State women's basketball. So we're doing a lot of Big Ten and ACC basketball this morning here on the program. And then at the end, we'll have Marcus Fuller, who covers the folks that covers Minnesota. Minnesota has a game this evening at 6:30, and they may have a new coach because he was sending me a message last night. If the coach gets canned, but we'll figure it out here. Thanks for joining us this morning. I want to give you the here's the schedule for today. Coming up at the top of coming up at noon, you got Syracuse, the 8th seed, taking on number 9 NC State in the second round. So we'll take on that, and then we'll see who we got here. Okay. Mike here. Let's see here. Okay. So we don't have. So, folks, thanks for joining us this morning. Like I said, we'll be on tonight at let's bring up the tonight 7:30 to 8:30 is the recap of ACC Big Ten basketball games. Mike Burnup will be live at 7:45. All right, so it's 10:58 here on the program. Like I said, here's tonight's schedule. We'll be back tonight at 7:30 to 8:30, recapping the ACC and Big Ten tournament games. And also, we'll have Mike Burnup will be live at 7:45. We'll talk to him about, because he does the basketball during the winter, does football during the fall, and plus we'll play that interview we had with Bruce Arians from the Super Bowl. Let him listen to some nice, fine, kind words here on the program. Next week, we'll be back here Wednesday. We're going to be back Wednesday afternoon. I know next Wednesday is a day that everybody gets, they become Irish for the day. It's St. Paddy's Day. We will be back next week on the program here. We'll be back around 4. We'll be doing the show from 4 to 6 in the afternoon next week. Because of the St. Paddy's Day and and all the tournament games. So let's put it out there next Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. is a Uski and Herbie show. Yeah, we'll get yourself ready for some good games going on next week. Some basketball games. We'll get you guys, ready for some college baseball. We had this morning with Coach Tyler from Towson. That was good to have him on the program. So it's 11 o'clock, top of the hour. Half an hour left in the program here. So let's give you the schedule here coming up. Hopefully Shelby is coming on. Maybe I have to text him, or maybe we'll get him on real quick here. So So it's 11 o'clock. So, yeah, that's the schedule. Shelby Mass will be joining us shortly. If I can get my phone to work. So, yeah, so we'll be right back here. Hopefully we'll get Shelby on. Let's see what else we got here we could play. We're trying to get somebody on here, so hold on a second. We'll be right back. All right, folks. Welcome back. We got Shelby here by the video here. Hi, Shelby. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the program. We haven't had you on since this time last year. So, what have you been up to?
Just all kinds of stuff. Trying to stay safe and virus free.
That's good. That's good. Talk about the tournament. Yeah, this week is all the tournament games and the all the big conferences like the NCAA tournament for the ACC, the Big Ten. Let's start with the ACC. Who Duke last night beating Boston College? I know Boston College wasn't a powerful team like they were struggling all year long. Is that win? Does Duke need to win one more game in the ACC tournament to be in the tournament, or they have to go right through the whole weekend?
I think they have to go through the whole weekend. They got to win the ACC tournament. There's a chance they could make it to the finals and still get in, but to do that, they have to be stiffer competition along the way. It can't be teams like Boston College.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about the today's games. You got Miami, and Clemson. You got Notre Dame, who's there tonight against North Carolina. Let's do North Carolina and Notre Dame. Who do you see in that game? Is Notre Dame, one of those teams that's in or out?
They're out. They're in the same situation as Duke. North Carolina should win that. They're going to be in the tournament, but you never know. Notre Dame could pull the upset, but North Carolina is in.
Okay, North Carolina's in. Any surprises out of the ACC that you were like this time? When you started doing your bracketology, were you surprised? Is there any surprises? You're like, hey, this team was not on the radar when I first started doing this.
No, not really. They were all right there or in the bracket. I think maybe the biggest surprise has been Virginia Tech. They've been a little bit better than most people thought, but they're a quality team. I'm not too surprised by that. Other than that, it's been about all the teams that are there should be, and you're missing Duke. That's the biggest surprise.
Let's switch gears. Let's go to the Big Ten. We're here in Maryland, and a lot of people are so up, about Maryland basketball. They play tomorrow morning against Michigan State. They're basically right now sitting on the bubble, figuring out where they're going to be. I think you see the bubble thing. Do you have them going to Indianapolis, or do you see them going to the NITs?
I think they'll be in the tournament. The big one, they've had a pretty good year and they've beat teams they should have beat, and nothing bad on their resume, so they're probably going dancing.
That's right. Let's talk about the Big Ten. It's been one of those up and down years for Big Ten. You got Michigan, who's the number one seed in the tournament. You got Michigan State, who basically they always come around in March. No matter what Izzo's teams show up, they show up in March. I think they have they just don't care about February or January or December or November, but they just show up in March. Now, talk about those two schools? Um, does Michigan State, they beat Maryland, are they in, or they have to go play against Michigan again and beat them again the second time in a week?
I think that Michigan State is in right now. They beat Michigan last Sunday, and that was probably enough to get them in. Uh, I can't see them falling out now. A loss to Maryland would not be a bad loss. And Izzo does it again.
Yeah. Let's talk about the rest of the tournament here. I was on my way home from work last night. Gonzaga, they had a scare against BYU last night in the Western Conference Final. Do you feel like that's a game that Gonzaga is glad to have a scare before going into tournament play, because they haven't really been touched in the American in and out that West Coast Conference thing.
I don't know if the players wanted a game like that, but I'm sure the coach appreciates it. He knows that they haven't been tested in a long time, really all year. All the teams that played out of conference, they've beaten easily. So to have a test like that, even though they won by 10, it was close till the very, very end, and it could never be a bad thing when you win a close game and get tested like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think them being undefeated, they needed a test like that. Just it makes your team stronger, and that's good.
Yeah, this time last year we had you. We talked to you, I think that Wednesday, and then all of a sudden everything changed it afterwards with the COVID-19 and all that stuff. What did you do with last year's bracket? Did you just look at it and go, "What if"?
I actually played the bracket out. I had a virtual tournament, and
Okay.
let you know give me and the fans something. There was no sports at all, and this kind of gave us something to hold on to. It wasn't close to the same thing, the real thing, but it got people interested and it made the time pass. And it was only for 3 weeks, but I did it in real time on the days that the games would have been played, and Kansas won.
Who'd you have in the Final Four?
Kansas and Dayton, I remember those two. I don't remember. I honestly don't. It's been long enough, and they weren't real, so I didn't put too much stock into it. But it was Kansas and Dayton. I remember those two. They played in the semis.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, well, this year I'm so glad everybody's back to normal. Yeah, normal, but they're playing a bubble type format in Indianapolis. How difficult is for you to set up a bracket knowing that you got the whole state of Indiana?
It's actually been more easy. I don't have to worry about getting a team close to a certain region. Everybody's going to be in Indy, so we just put them all there and let it go let it do what may. It'll help. It helps for travel and it helps for uh, not seating. That's all done behind the scenes and all. But as far as putting teams in certain regions, we don't have to worry about that.
Wow. Yeah. So, well, Shelby, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Enjoy your day watching all these games, and we'll try to catch up on you next week and see how our brackets look with your brackets.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, Shelby. Thank you so much. All right, folks. That is Shelby Mast, who the official bracket challenge this here. on the program. So we're going to take at 11:10 here. We're going to take a break here for a minute, and we're going to see what's going on with the first. So back, you are listening to Uski and Herbie. Let's give you the schedule coming up here. Let me pull him here. All right. So this is just. All right, so Justin. Okay, 11:15. Here's Justin. He's logging on for a minute here. It's not working. I have no idea. Bring this back on the back here, trying to get there, trying to figure out what's going on here with the program here. Too much. So we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Let's bring in Justin Antwell, Penn State women's basketball. Let's bring him in. Hold on, Justin. I can't. My picture is popping up.
How's it going, Herbie?
Yeah. Doing good. Hey, Justin, how you doing? It's Chris Heidel. How's everything? Thanks for taking some time to come on today. I know you guys are getting ready for these games this weekend. So how's the preparation going? I know you guys are sitting at home like Stephen Jones at your house and doing games for virtually from your friendly confines. So how's everything going?
It's going well. You're lucky that I said yes to come on. You know I'm a Miami Hurricane, Herbie. I see you're decked out in Knoll gear, but I went to the U. But I'm a nice guy, so I'll still talk to you. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
You're like my brother. Yeah, my brother's the same way. He's a Miami Hurricane, but he goes, "You like Florida State? I'll let you go." I'm like, "All right, buddy." Yeah, yeah, but we didn't have. He doesn't. We don't have grades to go to these schools, but yeah, it's fun. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Things are going well. I've got a job in a global pandemic. What's there to complain about? I get to talk about sports. Whether everybody would love to be at Bankers Life Fieldhouse where the Pacers and Fever play, but first world problems. You can't be there, so you get to call it from a cool little makeshift studio, and it's going to be a good game. The Big Ten women's basketball has never been better. There's 5 teams ranked, a couple more receiving votes, 6 teams could go to the NCAA tournament. Lady Lions have made a lot of strides. I'm excited, Herbie.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, let's talk about how did you get a job from? I know a lot of Miami guys don't like Penn State. I know that for a fact because my brother is a Miami Hurricanes fan, and he still talks about Miami destroying Penn State in 2001 when they had I think they were honoring some team or something like that. It was like the steamroll. They steamrolled the Lions up in State College. How did you get a phone call from Penn State say, "Hey, would you like to come?" And you're like, "Okay, I'll go to Penn State."
It's been a long journey. It's been 10 years since I graduated. I know I look like a baby. I look like I was maybe born yesterday. It's been a while. But no, I've grinded through minor league baseball. I was at Bucknell for 5 years, and I propelled that to a job at Penn State in 2019. You're in the industry too. You know how tough it is. You say yes to any job. It doesn't matter as long as you can be involved in sports. I'm lucky to be here. This is an amazing opportunity, and I'm glad to wear a Penn State polo because it's a great school.
Yeah, it is a great school. I've been up there for some football games. It's a very that football stadium gets loud. You know, when there are people in there. I was there for the whiteout a year ago, and 2 years ago when Michigan was there. Oh my God, there was a lot of drunk people walking around. Yeah, it was it was fascinating how many people were sitting there in their parking lot just getting sloshed. And I'm like, I had one guy who almost ran into my car. You know, I'm like, really? Yeah, like just walking. Yeah, I'm like, dude, get out of the way. Yeah, yeah. So it's a great place.
I've actually never been to a football. I've never been to a football game. I've been here 2 years. I've never been to a football game because of the global pandemic. There were no fans, and then last year when I got the job, we always had a basketball game that weekend. So it was kind of crazy that I've lived in State College for 2 years, but I've never been to a Penn State football game.
Well, let's talk about your job this evening. Penn State women's team is going to be playing against Michigan State, right? And these two schools. I just had the guy from East Lansing on. Yeah, he writes for the women's team. You know,
Brian, right?
Yeah, Brian. So let's talk about this game on your side of the story. Can the Penn State? I know they played Maryland last weekend. In Maryland, women's, the Terrapins are just blowing people out. Like it's almost like the Clemson football team in the football season playing against Citadel. Putting up like 90 points on somebody and like rolling out. But does Penn State have an opportunity to keep it going this weekend to maybe face Maryland in a rematch?
When you have a McDonald's All-American like Angel Reese coming off the bench, you've got a really good team, Herbie. So, yeah, Maryland's for sure the team to beat. But for Penn State, this team's been awesome this year. They've made so many strides. Coach Keeger and her staff have to be really, really impressed. They did not hit more than 8 threes in a game once last year. They've already hit double figures in threes 8 times this year. They've got the Big Ten 6th player of the year in Maddie Burke, who's got the 3rd most threes in the Big Ten. She's 18 years old. She's a freshman. Janasia Cash has the 4th most double-doubles in the Big Ten. She's a big transfer from SMU. She's from Pittsburgh, so she wanted to come back kind of closer to home during a global pandemic, and it's been a match made in heaven. McKenna Maurice has made a lot of good strides. Anna Camden's jousting for position down low. Last year, she was a 3-point shooter. Team's made a lot of strides, and a 10 seed has only beat the 7 seed 5 times in 26 tries. So Penn State's looking to make it 6-27. I think they can do it.
Cool. So you did some minor league baseball before you came to Penn State. What team did you do in minor league baseball?
The Somerset Patriots, who were in independent baseball. And then just this past year, they became the AA for the Yankees. But I haven't been with them since 2016.
Okay. So what do you think about the whole new minor league system? They got rid of like 40 teams, and there's 40 teams that basically are playing single, independent baseball or not playing baseball at all. What do you think about the new landscape of minor league baseball from your side?
Yeah, you hope for these small towns that the community can still galvanize around something together. I think people realize, small towns that don't have a pro team, a stone's throw away, really rely on minor league baseball for affordable family fun, whether it's a fireworks night with a family, whether it's a field trip day with a school or a camp day game, or just they have bark in the park days. Like you can never bring your dog to a big league stadium, but you can do that at minor league ballparks. So I hope the community, it's been a tough year for everybody in a global pandemic. And look, I'm not in minor league baseball anymore. I don't really go to games, but I have a respect for everybody involved. And I know how much these small towns rely on them. So hopefully they can get back and cherish them. And look, life's tough. Sometimes you get punched in the face and sometimes businesses fold. You just gotta get back up and keep it going. Life's never easy. It hasn't been easy for any of us.
Exactly. When you do a game from home, broadcasting an away game, I know you're probably at your house or you're probably at the stadium or whatever. How difficult is it to try to get people to realize it's like you're trying to sell the game that you're there, but you're not really there. You're just watching a monitor, like you're at home watching football on TV.
Well, fortunately with technology here, Herbie, we've got some Nat sound coming into our board mixer. So if you literally listen to the game, it feels like we're there. I mean, you can hear the dribble, you can hear the clanks off the back iron. Sometimes the score doesn't update as quickly as you'd like, or sometimes the stats are behind the video, or the video, you get the wheel of death. I'm sure you've experienced that before, where the whole video just freezes. We may have experienced it like 10 minutes ago. So
exactly,
things happen.
Internet.
Right. Things happen, but you do it with a smile on your face. You're lucky to still have a job. I'm not traveling because it's something I didn't do. It's just, this is what the new policies are. It is what it is. Hopefully next year I'll get to be at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. But for now, I get to call a game in a makeshift studio, and it'll be fun. It's the playoffs. It's March Madness.
Exactly. And then if they go to the NCAA tournament, you don't have to go to Texas. You can just stay home and do it from your house, and you could go right to your kitchen and save some money, and you can order food from GrowHub or something like that and say, hey, come give me some food before. You don't have to really have to go out.
I'm anti-delivery. I don't do GrubHub. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
You're just going to run, like, hey, I want to go to McDonald's real quick. I got 15 minutes. Let's go. So that's really easy. Real quick before I let you go, I know you got to get ready for today's game. 3 keys for the women's basketball team for Penn State to pull off this win to move on.
All right, number 1, close out on the perimeter. Michigan State hit 10 threes last time out at the Jordan Center on February 13th in their lone meeting. That tied a season high. They also hit 10 against Maryland. Penn State has to close out on the perimeter. They've got to get Maddie Burke going. Maddie Burke was scoreless in 24 minutes against the Spartans last month. You need her to knock down shots. She hit 7 threes in a game against Maryland and 6 threes in a game against Iowa. So big-time moments bring out the best in Maddie Burke. It's March Madness. It's win or go home. Penn State knows they have to run the table if they want to get to the aforementioned Texas that you talked about and go to the NCAA tournament. And last one, Janasia Cash has to stay out of foul trouble. She only averages 23 minutes per game this year because she gets overzealous and commits some fouls. She's committed at least 4 fouls in 13 games this year. So if she stays disciplined, there's no doubt in my mind she can tally her 11th double-double of the year, which is 4th most in the Big Ten. And one of her 10 double-doubles did come against Michigan State last month because she stayed out of foul trouble, Herbie. So it should be a good one. Penn State going up against Michigan State. Michigan State's got 2 transfers that played for Penn State last year in Jayla James and Alicia Smith. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle to this one. The winner gets Indiana. They're having their best year in program history, but let's see what happens tonight at 6:30.
Exactly. Well, enjoy the game from your where you're doing it, the call, and enjoy it. And we'll try to catch up with you in the middle of before the women's tournament starting 2 weeks down the NCAA tournament and see how you're doing.
Herbie, all the best. Keep doing what you love, and good luck to your Knowles, even if I say it tongue-in-cheek.
Hey, I got to say, November 3rd, I think I saw the schedule. That's when we have to go. I think we have to go back down to your guys down at Hard Rock Stadium. So that's going to be a interesting game. Oh, no. We have to go. You got to. I think it's Tallahassee this year. I get it all mixed. It's all different years. But it's going to be a good game.
In your head, yeah. All right, bring me on the show. We'll talk shop that week, all right?
All right, that works. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Herbie.
All right, see you. So that is Justin Antwell, who is the voice of the Penn State women's basketball, who basically he came from the University of Miami, so I guess he saw one of the seminal basketball jerseys. I guess it's NCAA tournament time. So Lucas Fuller to wrap up the show here. Marcus, are you there? There he is. Hi, Marcus. Thanks for coming on. I guess the coach didn't get fired. Did the coach get fired yet or no?
Yeah, Pitino is still the coach of the Golden Gophers.
Yeah. So let's talk about Coach Pitino. What's going on? What's going wrong there in Minnesota?
Well, this is his 8th season, and it's really tough to find a coach at the high major level to coach 8 years. To go to 2 NCAA tournaments in 8 years and still be the coach. So I think a lot of people here we're expecting the program to get to another level at this point. after last year not making the tournament, not being eligible for the tournament, obviously there was no tournament last year because of the pandemic. Richard Pitino was on the hot seat again. This year they got off to a hot start where they're ranked nationally as high as 16th. And they beat, Michigan, outright Big Ten champion. They beat Iowa and Ohio State, 3 teams that could go to the Final Four. But since then, this team's been on a free fall. They've lost 11 out of the last 14 games, 7 in a row to end the regular season. And, it looks like it's the end for Pitino's tenure here. They expected this team to be moving in the right direction, and obviously they're not at this point.
Yeah, you see on the bottom line, it's playing Northwestern, who you just played almost a week ago, and tonight at 6:30. They're at Lucas Oil Field, so it's going to be very interesting to see how people are going to be playing basketball in a football stadium.
Yeah, I think that you look at this Northwestern team, and when they played Minnesota earlier this month or last month, you look at the team, and they're on a 13-game losing streak in the Big Ten. And they snapped that losing streak against the Gophers. Really, it wasn't the same Gopher team that earlier beat Michigan. They're suffering some injuries, mainly to their starting center, Liam Robbins, a 7-footer who, when he played Ohio State, when he played Michigan and Iowa, he was one of the most dominant big men, looked like it, in the Big Ten. But he has an ankle injury. Their starting shooting guard, Gabe Kalsher, is out for the year with a broken finger. They've got other injury issues, and, fans don't want to hear that excuse right now for Pitino in his 8th season, and I think that's why you're seeing probably the program going in a different direction.
Yeah. Well, if Richard Pitino gets fired, tomorrow or whatever, who's in line to take over the job? Is there a lot of big name? If there's a lot of people in Minnesota, are they going to go outside the state? Are they going to bring somebody in who? I know Richard Pitino wasn't part of the program in the first place. He was an outsider. Are they going to go in the program? Or going to go outside the program? Are they going to call his father and say, "Hey, do you want to come back? And take over your son's mess or whatever?" Who's on who's on the waiting list?
Well, it's tough in my situation as a beat writer to speculate too much when the coach is still at the helm. But there's one name that's already come out, and that's because of his ties to the program. His dad was a former Gopher coach who won the Big Ten title in 1982. Jim Dutcher, son Brian Dutcher, is the coach of San Diego State, and he was asked by local media in San Diego this week, heading into his conference tournament in the Mountain West, whether or not he was interested in the Gophers job and about his name coming up in speculation as a candidate. In his buyout, I'm talking about Brian Dutcher, he specifically states that his $6.9 million buyout will only go down to $1 million if the Gophers come calling. So, opened a lot of eyes. That was a contract that they just signed last year when he won the Mountain West. And, he's got Gopher ties. He's got Minnesota ties. He's from Bloomington, Minnesota. He's an alum of the university. His dad was a famous coach here. So I think that's the name that everybody's looking at right now is Brian Dutcher. But again, as Brian said a couple days ago, he's still the coach of San Diego State. And he's heading in the Mountain West Conference tournament. And Pitino's still the coach for the Gophers, and he's playing tonight.
Exactly. Well, real quick, one last question to answer before we wrap it up here. What are the 3 keys for Minnesota to win this game to move on so they can keep Richard's job for maybe an extra day?
Well, one of the keys is already not going to happen was to be healthy. They're not getting Liam Robbins back, a starting center with an ankle injury. They're not getting Gabe Kalsher back, with his broken finger. So really, I think one of the biggest keys is establishing an inside presence. In the first half versus Northwestern in the last meeting, they were leading 31-25 at halftime because they were going inside and they're getting some easy buckets in the paint. Brandon Johnson versus Rutgers in their last regular season game, he had 19 points and 11 rebounds at the starting forward position. So I think they need to establish an inside presence is one. 2, I think they need to obviously defend the ball. And I think, if you look at the defense of Minnesota during a 7-game losing streak, they've allowed teams to shoot a high percentage, especially in the second half. So I think defensively, getting steals, getting in the open court, getting easy baskets for a team that really struggles in the half court scoring would be important for the Gophers. And then lastly is just rebounding. Not too many teams. Northwestern has out rebounded this year. and Minnesota is one of them. And if they can't control the boards, and they allow a Northwestern team that really is not the most athletic and doesn't have the most size to dominate them in the boards like they did in the last game, I think they really have no shot at winning.
Exactly. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. Enjoy the games here this evening. I know are you in Indianapolis or are you still in Minnesota?
Yeah, I didn't make the trip on this one. Obviously, pandemic this year has made it difficult for everybody, but we'll be looking forward to see what happens after this game.
Yeah, and everything from Zoom, so it's great to sit home and enjoy yourself in your own house.
Exactly. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks for coming on. Have a great evening or a great rest of your day. All right, folks. That is Marcus Fuller, who writes for the Minnesota basketball team, the beat writer. Take it. Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Everybody's ready for these tournament games coming up in a half an hour. We'll join you tonight at 7:30, recapping the second day of the ACC tournament. And then we'll talk Big Ten tournament basketball games as well. And Mike Burnup will be joining us at 7:45 from the Virginia Tech Radio Network. So now, until then, I'm Chris Seidel. See you at 7:30 here on Uski and Herbie on StreamYard.com. We'll be back. We'll see you soon.